Psych2Go is a digital media organization that raises mental health awareness by presenting psychological topics in a digestible and relatable manner. Please share our content with those who need it. It's a great way to show your support to us as well. According to the CDC, 9.3 million adults in the United States have reported having suicidal thoughts in a year. But what are suicidal thoughts? It means thinking about and planning a suicide attempt. Having suicidal thoughts does not mean a person will carry out the act. The CDC also states males are 4 times more likely to end their life, while women more often have suicidal ideations. The following is a list of 17 things that contribute to suicidal thoughts. 1. Chronic illness. Serious medical conditions may cause people to think about suicide. Depending on the severity of the illness, people will consider suicide as a way to cope with the mental and physical anguish they're going through. At times, people can come to believe that suicide is the best way to deal with long-term deterioration. 2. Mood disorders. Disorders such as major depression, bipolar, dysthymia, and seasonal affective disorder can contribute to suicidal thoughts. The dangers during a mood disorder occur when people are coming out of deep depression because they have more energy to carry out their thoughts. 3. Psychiatric disorders. Disorders like schizophrenia come accompanied with hallucinations. The hallucinations may direct individuals to commit suicide. Schizophrenia, among other psychotic disorders, have high rates of suicide ideation because those who struggle can lose touch with reality, not knowing what's real versus what's not. 4. Impulse control disorders. Some people can be more impulsive than others. Those that are tend to not focus on the consequences of their actions. They are reward-based driven, meaning they're more willing to participate in dangerous behaviors, such as suicide. 5. Abuse and trauma. Sexual, physical, and emotional abuse increases suicidal attempts by 2.5 to 3 times. Abuse has long-term consequences on a person's life. Depending on the frequency and severity of the abuse, the person will, in some cases, think about suicide as a way to cope with their pain. In many cases, this is a symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder. 6. Domestic violence. Survivors and victims think about suicide as an escape from their terrifying situations. When a person is immersed in a violent relationship, they often believe suicide is their best or only option, because they fear that their abusive partner will find them and hurt them or kill them themselves. In unique but not uncommon cases, the fear of not having support, employment, or an education to survive on their own adds to this feeling of hopelessness. 7. Access to weapons. Firearms can increase suicidal ideations and attempts in people who are struggling with mental or physical illnesses, or substance abuse, or difficult situations in general. The reason for this is sadly because people know that the use of firearms will highly increase their chances of success. 8. Stigma. Unfortunately, nowadays the stigma that surrounds mental illness and suicide causes people to not seek out help. The longer individuals go without receiving help, the higher the chances their suicidal ideations and attempts will increase. 9. Family history of suicide. Children and teenagers learn through observation and modeling. If they've been exposed to family members or close friends who have attempted or died from suicide, this can increase suicidal ideation because they indirectly believe it's an accepted way to cope with their problems. 10. Relationship problems. Problems in a relationship or the ending of one come accompanied with emotional and mental anguish. People who deal with uncertainty in their relationships can become overwhelmed. Feelings of abandonment, worthlessness, and guilt may contribute to suicidal thoughts. This usually occurs in the person who is being broken up with. The person who does the breakup in most cases has already gone through the grieving process. 11. Bullying. According to the CDC, approximately 4,400 people commit suicide per year due to bullying. This contributes to feelings of unworthiness, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, and hopelessness. In severe cases, those who are being bullied can come to believe suicide is the only way out of their torment. 12. Difficult life events. Stressful or traumatic life events can have, and often do have, lasting effects on people. These can vary from natural to man-made disasters to being diagnosed with a terminal illness. 13. Survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt occurs when people survive life-threatening events while watching others die. This makes them feel guilty, and in many cases, it's difficult for them to forgive themselves, and suicidal thoughts may occur and increase as time passes by. 14. Poverty. Low-income families are at high risk of suicide. This is due to not having access to resources. Many individuals don't have food, income, or housing security. This comes accompanied with stress and depression. When you don't have your basic needs, it is very difficult to think straight. So many who are struggling with these issues believe that suicide is the only way to solve their problems. 15. Past suicide attempts. Those who have attempted suicide are at a higher risk. Teens who have prior attempts are 3 times more likely to try again within a year. 16. Substance abuse. Did you know that alcohol is actually a depressant? Alcohol and other drugs increase suicidal ideation, especially in youth and young adults. Alcohol and drugs mess with the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain. They fill you with dopamine and then leave you depleted. The depletion of dopamine is called coming down or crashing. This is why you may feel anxious when you wake up the next day hungover. And this is why most addicts keep looking for the next high, because the low seems unbearable. 17. Prescription drugs. Did you know prescription drugs can cause suicidal ideations and even depression? This isn't to scare you off. The right medication and dosage could help you feel better. But at times, mixing different medications can worsen suicidal thoughts. It's important to monitor yourself along with the help of a doctor to prevent these symptoms. To conclude, it's important to remember that suicidal thoughts are symptoms of underlying issues, and they can be treated. You can get help. Suicide is not the only way out, and you're not alone. In this day and age, it is all too common for people to think about suicidal thoughts. But with help and support, we can, and we will, find our light again. If this sounds like someone you know, and you'd like to find out more, we also cover a video on 14 ways to tell if someone is suicidal. You can find that video in the link description down below. And remember, with Psych2Go, sharing truly is caring. Every share keeps us alive, and it could help keep someone else alive. Thanks for watching.
Committing suicide actually takes energy and planning. So this happens just above the lowest point, when they still have the energy to think clearly and execute it. Family members and close friends who were in contact with the individual before taking their own life have even reported them seeming happy and calm. This is because the suicidal person has finalized their plan and thinks they can finally escape the pain of this world.
So those are some of the major signs that someone may be suicidal. But again, please keep in mind that a single sign does not necessarily mean that person's going to hurt themselves. In the comments below, please let us know what other signs you think we've missed. What do you think about suicide? Have you ever thought about killing yourself? How would you kill yourself? What do you think is the best way to commit suicide? Questions or phrases like these may suggest that a person is considering it. They talk about it because they want your opinion. In a way, they're asking for advice on committing suicide while not openly admitting to it. This may also be a way
Hey, Psych2Goers. Have you ever thought about joining our team of animators or writers? Or perhaps... Hey, Psych2Goers, and welcome back to our channel. This video was suggested by one of our viewers, Army and Blink. Thanks for the suggestion. Now, let's get started. Have you been wondering if your mental health is possibly getting worse? Mental health, just like physical health, affects everyone, whether you're suffering from a mental illness or not. Your mental and emotional health can fluctuate from time to time, depending on the stresses going on in your life. So, it's always a good idea to check in with yourself and try to gauge the direction your mental health is going in. With that said, here are 10 signs that your mental health is getting worse. Number 1, you're losing interest in the little things. Do your favorite activities suddenly seem meh to you? If you've started to lose excitement for life's little things, then this is a sign that your mental health might not be at its best. You might be feeling this way because of an overload of stress in your life, or you're feeling overwhelmed with all of your responsibilities and your to-do lists. When you lose interest and don't enjoy the hobbies and activities that you once did, this could also be a warning sign of depression. If you think this could be what's happening to you, know that you aren't alone and that help is just around the corner. Talk with a trusted friend or family member or a mental health professional to get the help you need to navigate these troubling times. Number 2, you get overwhelmed easier. Do you find that you've been getting overwhelmed more often than normal? When you have a to-do list for 2 or 3 tasks, does it feel more like you have 10 things to do? When you start to get overwhelmed easily with everyday things, this could be a sign of worsening mental health. According to psychotherapist Sherry Jacobson, feeling mentally overwhelmed could be an internal reaction to excessive outside stress. To help cope with this overwhelming feeling, you can journal, meditate, or practice mindfulness. Number 3, you don't feel like socializing that much anymore. Does it feel more exhausting to interact with people nowadays? Regardless of whether you're an introvert, extrovert, or somewhere in between, we all have a standard comfort level when it comes to social interaction. If you feel yourself slipping below your comfort level, pay attention to this. Remember that even if it doesn't feel that way at the moment, interacting with people can help boost your mood. We want to mention that we're happy to have Skillshare as the sponsor today because they really promote the idea. The course is called Creativity. The first 1,000 people will get a consistent sleep schedule. Have you developed a seemingly random sleep schedule? Despite wanting to get up at a certain time in the morning, do you wind up sleeping all day? When you have an irregular sleep schedule, this could signify increased stress in your life and a decline in your mental health. If you're struggling to regulate your sleep, you can try setting up a routine to wake up and go to bed at the same time every day. This will get your body back into its regular rhythm of sleep and wake cycles, therefore no longer causing sleep disturbance. Number 5, you always feel drained. Despite getting enough sleep and eating well, do you constantly feel exhausted or drained? According to Healthline, mental exhaustion can set in when you're under long-term stress, and this type of exhaustion can make it feel like you're trying to move up a mountain. More than just feeling tired, when you're in this drained and constantly exhausted state, you might struggle to get anything done. Healthline suggests practicing gratitude, relaxation, and yoga, as well as talking to a mental health professional to provide medication for you if it's needed. Treatment plans will look different for everyone, but regardless, there is a way that will work best for you to help pull yourself out of this state of exhaustion. Number 6, your anxiety seems to be increasing. Do you wake up in the morning with a crushing sense of anxiety that stays with you all day? Does this anxiety cast a cloud over your daily activities? Worsening anxiety can often coincide with worsening mental health. Anxiety affects us all, whether or not you happen to suffer from a particular anxiety disorder. It's important to monitor your anxiety levels because a noticeable change can tell you a lot about your mental health. Anxiety is a response to stress, and it can cause a variety of psychological and physical symptoms. When you feel overly anxious, you might notice that your heart rate speeds up and your breathing rate increases, and you might experience a bout of nausea. Number 7, you feel mentally and emotionally scattered. Do you feel like there are so many things happening around you, but you can't focus on any of them? If so, you're not alone. From time to time, it's normal to feel this way, especially when you're going through higher amounts of stress. However, if you're feeling scattered and like things are spinning out of control, this could be a sign that your mental health is under strain. According to psychologist Rick Hansen from Psychology Today, you probably feel scattered because you're struggling to find your center. This means that in order for your brain to feel more organized, you need to feel at peace within yourself. Practicing mindfulness, such as yoga and meditation, are great places to start on the road to inner peace. Number 8, you can't seem to pay attention. Do you have a harder time focusing and staying on task? When you're reading, is it hard to comprehend? Do you have to reread the same passage over and over again? Though it could relate to potential psychological disorders such as ADHD, depression, or anxiety, it's also likely that a lack of focus can be due to stress or poor self-care. It can be frustrating to start losing focus so frequently, and those feelings are valid and normal. Remember to take care of yourself, and as you recover, know that help is available. Number 9, you might be struggling with your impulse control. Are you acting more on impulse? Are you possibly indulging in things you shouldn't? Whether it's retail therapy or binging all of your shows or playing video games for hours. When you act more on impulses like this, it can signify worsening mental health. You might pick up some unhealthy habits as a way to cope with life stress, or to fulfill yourself or distract yourself from a major issue going on in your life. Journaling, mindfulness, and therapy are great ways to start uncovering some of these issues. And number 10, you're struggling to feel grounded. Similar to feeling centered, when you are grounded, you are feeling confident and balanced within yourself. According to Irene Langveld, an energy worker and meditation coach, grounding starts with the root chakra at the base of the spine, known to help you feel secure. Activities that connect your body with the world around you, know that there is help you can reach out for. You can talk to a trusted friend, family member, or a mental health therapist for support. Please like and share this video if it helped you and you think it could help someone else too. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Psych2Go videos, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey Psych2Goers, thanks so much for your support. Let's begin the video. What do you think depression looks like? Like many others, you may think of people who always look sad, cry a lot, or who are never happy. But the truth is, there are a lot more layers to depression than you think. The American Psychiatric Association lists many different presentations of depression, each with its own symptoms and differences. Concealed or hidden depression is just one of them, and those who have it may be conditioned to act in protection of their symptoms. So to help you learn a little more about it, here are 11 things hidden depression makes you do. Before we begin, we would like to mention that this video is created for educational purposes only and is not intended to substitute a professional diagnosis. If you suspect you may have depression or any mental health condition, we highly advise you to seek help from a qualified mental health professional. With that said, let's begin. Number 1, your sleeping pattern has changed. What time do you usually go to bed? A good and consistent sleeping pattern is very important and healthy for your mental and physical well-being. So having constant problems with sleep may point to a sign that something greater is wrong. A lack of sleep or constant oversleep can be a possible symptom of depression. These changes to your sleeping pattern can affect how you feel during the day, perhaps making you feel exhausted or tired all the time. Number 2, your eating habits changed. Are you noticing that your eating habits have changed drastically compared to a little while ago? Oftentimes, food can act as a coping mechanism for those hiding their depression. Overeating may help distract you from your own emotional emptiness, and losing your appetite can also be indicative of a larger problem. There's a strong link between eating disorders and depression, and while they are two separate illnesses, having a sudden and large change in eating habits can be a cause for concern and point to a larger issue, such as having hidden depression. Number 3, you become self-critical. While perfectionism can get the best of anyone, those struggling with hidden depression may take it to the next level and feel the need to do everything perfectly. This can lead to an excess of self-imposed pressure and standards that, if missed or not met, lead to self-deprecating thoughts and feelings of shame. These feelings might end up governing your internal choices and leave you unable to do simple activities or pursue casual relationships. Number 4, you experience intense emotions. While people often assume that those with depression are always sad or upset, that's not always the case. While melancholy is a common feeling described, people with depression may also project or express how they feel in anger or irritability. These feelings may come from a frustration with needing to put up a good impression for everyone to see, or from feeling confused and overwhelmed by the complex emotions they're experiencing. Number 5, you struggle to express painful emotions. In contrast to the previous point, some people with hidden depression may form the habit to avoid or stay in denial about their feelings. Instead, they may choose to find distractions to divert their mind elsewhere. According to Dr. Margaret R. Rutherford, people may actually end up finding it difficult and struggle to express how they feel because they avoid their emotions so often. Number 6, you become obsessed with philosophy and purpose. Have you ever wondered what the meaning of life is? Sometimes being depressed can make you feel like you're floating through life without direction. It might lead you to question what your purpose is or what you're meant to accomplish here on Earth. These questions about life and meaning can make you become more introspective and cause you to dive into studying big questions and philosophies to help you find meaning and purpose for your life. Number 7, you become uninterested in activities you used to enjoy. Another possible sign of depression is if you suddenly lose interest and joy in the things you used to like. Depression is not only mentally draining, but physically as well. It can make it much more difficult and tiring to find the motivation or enthusiasm to accomplish tasks or do activities, even if they were something you used to really enjoy. Number 8, you cry out for help and then make cover-up excuses. People who hide their depression often hide what they're feeling because they may struggle to admit that they have a problem. However, sometimes these feelings can become so overwhelming that you may turn to a friend or even reach out to a doctor for help. Unfortunately, like many others, you might then realize that taking these steps would mean admitting that you have depression, which is an extremely hard realization to come to. So instead, you might find yourself making up excuses and pulling yourself away from the help you wanted. Number 9, you struggle with intimacy. Similarly, with the previous viewpoints, feelings associated with care and intimacy may also be difficult for you if you are depressed. If you're hiding depression, the vulnerability that is associated with intimacy may be difficult for you to express. While you may find it easy to care for others, it can become much more overwhelming and tense when it comes to yourself and the relationships you have. There may be a fear of sharing your deepest feelings and emotions, or the fear of having someone invalidate your feelings and proving your worst fears correct. Number 10, you focus too much on having gratitude. Many people often mistake the idea of having gratitude to mean that you ignore the negative emotions you feel and only focus and appreciate the good things. This type of thinking can become harmful because you may end up invalidating, ignoring, or feeling guilty about any negative emotions you feel. Instead, practicing gratitude involves reflecting, noting, and appreciating the things that you may overlook in your daily life. It doesn't mean that you have to look at the good side of everything, especially if those things make you upset. And number 11, you compartmentalize your feelings. Lastly, having depression can make you form the habit of compartmentalizing your feelings. This means you rigidly sort them into boxes and push them away to deal with for later, or maybe even never. By locking away your own negative feelings, you avoid ever addressing the pain or sadness you may be feeling. However, while it may bring temporary relief, it may also build up and become overwhelming later. Did you learn something new about hidden depression? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe and share this video with those who might benefit from it. And don't forget to hit the notification bell icon to get notified whenever Psych2Go posts a new video. The references and studies used in this video are added in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video. Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back to our channel. Thank you for your love and support. Your ongoing support helps us further our goal to spread awareness about mental health and psychology, so thank you. Now, on to the video. Do you feel tired, foggy, and have trouble concentrating? Or maybe you've been feeling depressed, or haven't been getting enough sleep, or too much sleep. While these symptoms can happen to anyone once in a while, piled together, they can make for some classic signs that you may be mentally breaking down. You may have heard of the term mental breakdown or nervous breakdown. You may have even been guilty of using these terms casually. They're no longer used as clinical terms anymore by the medical community, and a nervous breakdown is not considered a mental illness. Instead, it's generally viewed as a period of time when an overwhelming amount of stress affects an individual's ability to function. This stress can be physical or mental, and the symptoms of a mental breakdown can subtly sneak up on you and grow out of control if you don't catch the signs early enough. So, to help better your mental health, let's catch these signs early on and see if we can figure out together if you're mentally breaking down. Sign number 1. You sleep too much or not enough. Do you find yourself suffering from insomnia? Do you spend your nights tossing and turning with no relief? Or maybe you're getting too much sleep. You think to yourself, I'll just lie my head down for 1 more minute. And then you wake up to the lights of your clock reading 5 o'clock p.m. Oh boy, who hasn't had too much sleep at some point in their life, right? We most often sleep in on the weekends after a long week of work or when we're sick. But the thing is, our mental health can be sick as well, and our sleep patterns may be affected because of it. You may be using sleep as an escape from reality, so sleeping in seems much easier to handle than the difficulties of reality. Or maybe you begin to exhibit symptoms of insomnia because your brain is too overactive at night with stress. You could be playing out situations or scenarios in your head that you're stressed beyond belief about. Try instead to unwind before bed. Odds are you've heard it before, but a good book and a cup of tea is a good place to start if you can't seem to sleep lately. The less stimulation, the better. Just don't watch TV or get on your phone before bed. We need to first wean ourselves from an overly active brain to a calm one by choosing less intense activities to transition to sleepy time. If you go from sprinting to an immediate stop, you're likely to fall. You might first slow down, walk, and then stop to a finish. It's the same with going to bed. Kinda. Number 2, you show signs of anxiety and depression. One of the most common signs that you're mentally breaking down is showing symptoms of depression or anxiety. Maybe you feel you're tense all the time, dizzy, or find yourself ruminating on stressful ideas or situations. Or maybe you find yourself suddenly crying for no reason, or feel an intense emotion like guilt. These signs are important to catch early on, as they could pile up, leading to a mental breakdown. If you already suffer from anxiety and depression and notice your symptoms are worsening, these could be signs that you're mentally breaking down as well. Number 3, brain fog. Brain fog? What is that? While it's not a medical condition, it's a term that's often used when one exhibits several symptoms related to their ability to think. Perhaps you have difficulty concentrating, or maybe you've been extremely indecisive or disoriented these past few days or weeks. Even memory loss is a symptom of brain fog. Number 4, poor hygiene. If you suddenly find yourself neglecting your personal hygiene, it could mean something more is going on. Poor hygiene can be a sign of self-neglect. You may just feel that you don't have the energy, or don't feel the need to take care of yourself as much anymore. A sudden lack of hygiene can be linked to depression or mental disorders. It's best to recognize when something is wrong early, so you can seek out help. Number 5, you withdraw from social events and friends. Have you found that you're just not so up to hanging out with your friends this weekend? Or next weekend? Or the weekend after that? Maybe you dread going to that get-together with your friends this Saturday, and the task of getting ready, painstakingly hard. Well, withdrawing from your friends and social events could be an added sign that you're mentally breaking down. Humans need socialization, and when this is compromised, our mental health can pay the price. Try getting back to socialization slowly if you find it difficult. Reach out to friends through text, share a funny or insightful video, then maybe a phone call. Isolating ourselves can be one of the biggest mistakes to our mental health that we can make. So after this video, call your mom, text your friend, call a mental health helpline if needed. Reach out and share this video with your Uncle Larry. He's not doing anything. Just don't mentally isolate. Number 6, difficulty breathing. Do you often feel this tightness in your chest or find yourself breathing rapidly? Maybe you've been taking quick, rapid breaths more than usual as a response to stress. Go ahead, pay attention to your breathing right now. I'm waiting. Are you breathing calm and relaxed? Or are you having difficulty breathing? This is another sign of stress. and another sign that you may be mentally breaking down. Stress can get the best of us. Anxiety has a way of finding us when we least expect it. Our breathing can often identify if we're indeed suffering from anxiety, and taking the time to slow your breathing and relax may even relieve some of the stress we carry day to day. Go ahead, take a deep breath. In, 1, 2, 3. Out, 1, 2, 3. Feel better? I know I do. Number 7, you feel physical pain as well. Maybe you've happened to notice that you've been suffering from 1 too many headaches per week. More like 7 per week. Per day? And that stomach ache can't seem to go away. Physical pain can often show up when we're severely stressed. This can be in the form of a light headache every day to a blaring migraine. That feeling of a knot in your stomach, that could be stress too. Of course, if these physical symptoms of pain persist and feel like something more than just stress, it's best to talk to a doctor right away. But if you still feel the emotional pain persisting as well, that is just as valid a reason to seek help from a mental health doctor. And number 8, you suddenly eat too much or too little. Sudden changes in appetite can be a sign of stress as well. The stress hormone, cortisol, can suddenly cause us to crave certain unhealthy foods high in fat and sugar. So, when we're extremely stressed, bring out the family-sized bag of potato chips and a tub of ice cream. Hey, every one of us can overeat on a bad day, every now and then. But when this becomes every night, odds are there's some suppressed stress you need to confront. Remember, we may neglect self-care due to stress, which means we may not want to put in the effort to prepare a healthy breakfast or dinner. Be aware of this and try to tell yourself that simply spending some time in the kitchen making your favorite healthy dish can have some serious benefits to your mental health. Try some deep breathing as you put your dinner together. You can try staying in the present by focusing on the task at hand to distract yourself from ruminating on those worrisome thoughts. Make another healthy sandwich for a friend to share while watching a movie. But then, once the movie is over, turn off the TV and wind down with a book. Your sleep will thank you for it later. So, do you exhibit any of these signs? Did you practice your deep breathing along with me? Or maybe you'll reach out to your mom or a friend and share this video. Do you have an Uncle Larry? Feel free to let us know in the comments. And remember, whatever struggles you're going through, we and the many Psych2Goers are here to listen. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to click the like button and share this video with someone who might need it. Subscribe to Psych2Go and hit the notification bell icon for more content like this. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Hey there, Psych2Go family. Welcome back. We at Psych2Go look forward to your continued love and support. With that said, let's begin. A lot of us feel like we don't deserve to have our dreams come true or have good things happen to us. And sometimes, no matter how far we've made it or how much we've already accomplished, we still don't feel content. Why is that? The answer isn't an easy one. Most likely, it's when we grapple with feelings of self-loathing. Self-loathing is defined as hatred for oneself that often manifests as anger, self-sabotage, a negative view of oneself, and low self-esteem. It's important for a person to be aware of their feelings and attitudes towards themselves so they can start to change for the better. Here are 7 signs you may be suffering from self-loathing and just don't know it. 1. You tear yourself down. Self-hate makes you your own worst critic. Keeping an eye on your shortcomings is a good thing, but not allowing yourself room to breathe stems from an immense dislike for your current self. You think extremely harsh things about yourself and indulge in self-pity a lot. So much that tearing yourself down has become a daily habit for you. Everyone makes mistakes, but you're so hard on yourself that you can't forgive yourself when you mess up. You're quick to blame yourself whenever something goes wrong, even if it's not your fault. You never commend yourself for a job well done, but rather criticize yourself for even the tiniest of mistakes. You're plagued by feelings of guilt worthlessness, and inadequacy that manifest themselves as frequent complaints about yourself and your life. 2. You feel insecure around others. If you find that other people make you feel insecure about yourself a lot, it might be time to ask yourself why. Most likely it's because you're constantly comparing yourself to them and feeling like you'll never be able to measure up, no matter what you do. Subjecting yourself to this kind of harsh judgment is a definite sign that you hate yourself. When you look at someone else, you always focus on all the things that they have that you don't, and it makes you ungrateful for all the good things you do have. You can't help but feel bad about yourself whenever you're around someone who's happy, confident, smart, attractive, or successful. 3. You neglect your self-care. Do you want your loved ones to be happy and taken care of? Chances are, you probably answered yes right away, because when you love someone, you want what's best for them. So if you really loved yourself, you'd want that for you too. This is why neglecting your self-care is a form of self-hatred. You don't sleep well, you're not eating right, you don't exercise, you don't try to look nice for yourself, and you don't do things that make you happy. It's not that you don't have the time or can't be bothered enough. It's more about refusing yourself the pampering because of a deep-seated grudge with yourself. Since your insides are at war with you, it only seems right to let yourself show it outwardly as well. So when you look in the mirror, all you see is a haggard reflection, unworthy of love, and that's how you like it. 4. You don't let yourself be happy. You're a pessimist who's quick at finding the negative aspect in every situation. You're wary of compliments or praise because it seems mocking. You don't see yourself in a positive light and refuse to believe what others say. However, you do take their criticism to heart because it reinforces your view of yourself. You're not comfortable letting other people help, as you believe your troubles are yours alone and you deserve them. You find it hard to feel good about yourself. And this is what sucks all the joy out of your life. You resent the way you are and deprive yourself from anything, even remotely akin to delight. These are just a few of the ways that you deny yourself happiness, perhaps even unknowingly, as you fester in your own self-hatred. 5. You isolate yourself from others. You struggle to maintain relationships with others because you feel like you don't deserve their love. Often you feel their attention and love is a burden for you. You don't consider yourself good enough to remain in the circle. Since you have a low concept of your own self, you feel like they're judging you as well. It may look like they're doing you a favor by including you, so you stay back because you think they're better off without you. You feel guilty for hanging out with them because you believe your presence is an intrusion upon them, and you're holding them back. Your inability to love yourself makes you unwilling to accept love from others as well. As a result, you isolate yourself to refrain from inconveniencing others with your presence. 6. You put on a facade for others. You're one way when you're by yourself, and then another when you're around other people. You wear a mask and don't let other people see the real you, because you hate who you are. You try so hard to fit in and be liked by everyone, and you constantly wish that you were someone else. You feel ashamed of your true self, and you think that no one will ever be able to accept you, so you'd rather pretend to be someone you're not. And 7, you're afraid to dream big. Having ambition and dreaming something big for yourself scares you. You smother your own hopes and aspirations because you think you'll never be able to achieve them, so what's the point? You look down on yourself and all that you can do and refuse to leave your comfort zone. The possibility of failure and rejection terrifies you. You easily feel discouraged and worthless the moment you encounter a setback. You deny yourself opportunities to grow and have new experiences because you don't believe in yourself. Your insecurities make it hard for you to see your capabilities, and you can't allow yourself to succeed. We all have a lot of self-destructive behaviors that are toxic for our mental health and emotional well-being. So many of us struggle with feelings of insecurity, emptiness, and worthlessness that it can sometimes lead us to hating ourselves. Becoming more aware of your self-hatred makes it easier for you to overcome it. And with time, patience, support, and dedication, you can learn to love yourself and live a happier, healthier life. Did these points remind you of someone, maybe yourself? Can you now see where such behavior stems from and why? Do these points make it easier for you to name your emotions and behaviors? Please let us know in the comments below. Also, share this video with anyone you think might benefit from it, and we'll see you in the next one. Hey there, Psych2Go fans. Welcome back to another Psych2Go video. Here's to another year of making psychology more fathomable and accessible. So, let's begin. Isn't finding love and happiness often considered the pinnacle of life goals? And don't we all hold personal relationships as the key to achieving this goal? In fact, research supports that the most important determinant for a person's happiness is the quality of their relationships. We spend years trying to figure out where our hearts belong, and when we finally know the answer, we sometimes can't help but run away in fear. To be emotionally vulnerable with someone isn't for the faint of heart. Having a fear of intimacy is perfectly understandable, especially if you have a history of failed relationships and emotionally distant or absentee parents. It leads us to pushing away those we love most, often without meaning to. We constantly doubt the stability and security of our relationships. We waste so much time stewing in indecision that we miss our chance to be with them. With that said, here are 7 telltale signs you may be suffering from a fear of intimacy. 1. You're afraid of abandonment. Oftentimes, a fear of intimacy stems from a deep-seated and unresolved fear of abandonment. Those who grew up with neglectful parents and have an anxious avoidant attachment style are most likely to develop this fear. With this fear at the back of your mind, you learn to adopt a positive view of yourself, but a negative view of others, thinking the only person I can ever truly count on is myself. You think that it's always better to leave before you're the one who's left behind, and so you're reluctant to let people in and struggle with long-term commitment. 2. You're fiercely independent. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being independent. Of course, it's good to be competent, knowledgeable, and self-sufficient, but you should also know how to ask for help when you need it. If you're too independent, you will try to do everything on your own because you take pride in never needing anything from anyone. In a lot of ways, it's what makes you feel in control of your own life and enables you to keep your emotional distance from people by never allowing yourself to depend on them or need them. You are feeding your fear of intimacy by making sure you never have to succumb to having others fulfill your needs. Your independence gives you freedom by keeping everyone at arm's length. 3. You always fall for the wrong ones. Do you have a history of falling in love with all the wrong guys or girls? Do you find yourself attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable or distant in some way, or maybe abusive, rude, or unfaithful to you? Picking unhealthy partners is a common characteristic seen in those who have a fear of intimacy, because it allows them to avoid getting too close to a person, or ever having a stable or secure future with them. You might find damaged, aloof, or complicated people more appealing because you want to avoid intimacy, and thus end up rejecting the ones who are actually more sincere to commit. 4. You tend to be flaky. Being flaky means to be inconsistent in our behavior towards others. So when people get too close to you, your first instinct is to push people away. Do you sometimes ghost your friends after spending a lot of quality time with them? Have you ever opened up to your partner about something deep and personal, then stopped calling and talking to them for a few days? These behaviors show that having an honest emotional connection with someone scares you. So you try to keep your distance and stop yourself from getting too attached to them. Since they have come too close for your comfort, you run in the opposite direction to nullify any budding connection and to keep yourself from getting hurt. 5. You're a perfectionist. It's normal to want the people you love to think well of you, but you shouldn't try to show them the perfect version of yourself only all the time. If you're a perfectionist, chances are you'll have a hard time letting others see your shortcomings and your flaws. You're afraid you'll be rejected because of them, or maybe you don't even want to admit to yourself that you have them. You tend to intimidate people by always putting up a perfect front, making others reluctant to approach you as they find it hard to match your level. This facade keeps everyone at bay, but it's important that you learn how to be open and vulnerable with the people you care about, and that you trust them enough to let them see your flaws. 6. You're a workaholic. When you're practically married to your job, it barely leaves room in your life for any kind of relationship whatsoever. Maybe you're pouring so much of yourself into your job because you want to deflect your focus away from your personal issues and avoid having to confront them. You use your job and how you're too busy doing it as an excuse for not being able to form or maintain healthy and lasting relationships. People who are afraid of intimacy often throw themselves into their work to avoid having to commit to something serious. So if you're a workaholic, ask yourself if this is the reason why. 7. You sabotage your relationships. It goes without saying, of course, that people who are afraid of intimacy will often sabotage their own relationships. This is why having this kind of fear can be so destructive, because it robs you of the opportunity to have happy, stable, and functional relationships. You may be doing it unknowingly, by failing to communicate well, or not expressing your feelings to others, or you might be deliberately doing things you know could hurt or upset the ones you love. In fact, studies show that people who cheat on their partners often do so because they have a fear of intimacy. While it's easy to see why being afraid of intimacy and commitment can keep us from being happy, it's harder to change when we're already so set in our ways. Painful memories, messy breakups, and unhappy early childhood experiences can leave us with a lot of emotional baggage. We'll likely have to work through for years to come, but it doesn't always have to be that way. There's no need to let these negative experiences define you and keep haunting you for the rest of your life. With diligence and support, you have the power to overcome your fear of intimacy and commit to a healthy, emotionally fulfilling relationship. The first step, however, is to simply recognize the signs. Did you find yourself nodding along to any of these signs? If so, are you ready to commit to breaking the vicious cycle now that you realize how truly damaging it could be? Did these points clarify the reasons for your fear? Do let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to share with those who might benefit from this video. As always, thanks so much for watching.
"12 things introverts are best at doing." There's somewhat of a negative stereotype around introverts. People say that they're too quiet to have fun or be social. Well, that is a blatant lie. Just because introverts don't feel comfortable walking into a room full of strangers or making friends with everyone in a room, doesn't mean they don't like to be fun or social. Introverts have some of the best personality traits, they just usually keep to themselves. Here are just some of the things introverts are great at doing. Number 1. Having thought-provoking conversations. Introverts don't like small talk. The whole, "How are you? Can you believe this weather? Did you see the game last night?" Chit-chat is worthless. Due to their disdain for the idle chatter, they're seen by most as unsociable. And this is not the case. Introverts want to get straight down to the meat of things. They want to hear your deepest thoughts, your desires and dreams. None of that, "I'm fine, how are you?" talk. Introverts know that you have a story to tell and they want to hear it. They want to know your opinions and questions and answers to questions that are infrequently spoken about because of their deep topics. Introverts have a therapist, guidance counselor mentality and charisma, causing us to make you feel more comfortable with speaking your mind and soul. This is good for everyone around. Introverts get the satisfaction of having meaningful conversation with someone without having to fill the empty space with chit-chat. And you get a part-time therapist, someone who will really listen to you and your thoughts. Number 2, being effective salespeople. I know what you're thinking. What in the world? An introvert excels at a profession that requires constant vis-a-vis interaction? Yes, introverts pay attention, care, and are comfortable in familiar situations, so they can be confident in their daily jobs even as salespeople. Being highly cognitive people, introverts take time to fully understand their product, customer, and outcomes. From this, introverts are highly prepared for any unexpected events such as objections, crankiness, and touchy questions. They might not be happy with it, but they can handle it effectively nonetheless. Number 3, taking care of animals. Introverts love to be swaddled in love and affection by those close to them, especially when it's our furry friends. So they do enjoy to return the favor. Introverts are professionals at taking care of animals, especially when they do it alone. You need a dog sitter? No problem. You need someone to take care of your cat while you're away? Nuff said. Introverts have no problem snuggling up next to a dog, cat, bunny, or goldfish and spending a nice day together. They enjoy the company of animals more than humans in most situations. They sympathize with animals. Introverts can calm a troubled pet since they're experienced with calming their own troubled minds. They have a lot of energy and want to have fun, eat, and get their belly rubbed, but when all is said and done, they need their rest. Same, dog. Same. 4. Being observant. Introverts aren't quiet without a purpose. They observe. While you're over there talking about the latest fad or your weird dream last night, they're listening and watching. They see the way your forehead wrinkles when your grandpa's mentioned, and they notice when there's a new painting hanging up in the office. Introverts spend time watching and memorizing their surroundings and environments so they feel comfortable enough to interact with them. Who would jump into the darkness without a flashlight? Introverts prefer to analyze their surroundings rather than focus on biases, so that when they finally voice out their misgivings, these should be taken seriously. Introverts are the first to notice anything slightly out of the ordinary, and they're also the ones to be the devil's advocate and notice flaws in ideas and concepts. Introverts usually spend a lot of time thinking about the worst possible situation and how to get out of it, so trust them, they know what they're talking about. 5. Being great leaders. As are many of these points, this one is notably surprising. How can someone who dislikes abundant social interaction be a great leader when a leader's job is to lead others? A recent poll shows that not all successful leaders are extroverts. Outgoing individuals use their charisma and spunk to command attention and get things done, while reserved bosses lay low and observe their underlings and always know what's best for them, the person, and the situation. They never speak just to be heard or because they're the boss. They speak to assist and help others because introverts imagine themselves in quite every situation, just to be prepared. They're careful and attentive, humble and prepared, and they're comfortable working alone, showing that good leadership isn't always flashy. So if you ever have a boss that is more on the shy or reserved side, this doesn't mean that he or she dislikes you or thinks they're better than you. It could be that they're an introvert as well and don't have anything to say about your performance since you're doing a good job without them. 6. Being great workers. Alongside being great leaders, introverts also know very well when to take a step back and get the work done. They're attentive, wholehearted, determined, and motivated to always do their very best. Since introverts usually don't use their words or quick wit to talk them out of sticky situations, they use their intellectual prowess to provide an answer rather than an excuse. Hand them an extended project, let them work alone in a comfortable environment, and you'll get incredible results. Introverts need little supervision because they're always triple-checking themselves, seeing the flaws in everything and preparing every argument that could be made against their work, and working around it to avoid said confrontation. These qualities make them effective followers as well, being dedicated to the completion of their responsibility, provided their solitude is undisturbed. 7. Listening to your troubles. Have you ever needed to vent, confided in a close friend, and felt like they weren't really even listening to you? That's the opposite of an introvert. Since introverts know how hard it is for them to express their emotions verbally, if a loved one expresses feelings to them, they will listen hard and well. Introverts are perfect for when you need a shoulder to cry on or just someone to hear your story. As said earlier, introverts hate small talk. So if you go straight to the meaty, deep talk, they'll provide an impeccable set of ears and even some incredible advice for you to follow. Introverts are sensitive to pain, their own and others. They can tell when you're really upset or when you need to get something off your chest. If a reserved friend asks you if everything's alright, there's no need to hide behind another, "I'm fine, I'm just tired." Go ahead and tell them what's bothering you. There's no better support than that of an introverted friend. 8. Counseling. In addition to listening, being empathetic is what introverts do. Having someone there, listening and supporting you in a time of need, is just as comforting as a nice warm hug, which many introverts may often initiate in moments like these. 9. Thinking before acting. Introverts don't speak quite often, so when they do, every single word was chosen very carefully ahead of time. Sometimes due to this, introverts may take a while to get a sentence out, since they're mentally preparing and rehearsing each word before they say it. Since introverts take a while to express themselves, many extroverts just ignore them and talk over them. This can cause introverts to become even more shy so that they don't get ignored again, as this is traumatic and embarrassing. So if your introverted friend speaks up, pay close attention because what he or she has to say is probably important. 10. Knowing themselves. We all know that quiet persons have the loudest minds. Introverts spend a lot of time in their own heads. From this, they know themselves pretty well. Aside from being silent critics, introverts are constantly having inner monologues, evaluating themselves and their choices in everyday situations. Thus, they rarely have any existential crises and can easily figure out their strengths and weaknesses. They know who they are, what they want, and what is important to them. They might just not tell you all of that information. You could say that they're silent, but confident. 11. Being a source of wisdom. By nature, introverts love information, learning, and discovering new things. They might not be the first to go mountain climbing, but they'll definitely be in awe over a new NASA discovery. Their minds are constantly urging for more facts and things to ponder over in the silence of their daily lives. Not only that, but they use these interesting facts and information to share with others when the time is relevant. So you never know when your small-voiced friend might know the exact answer to your problems after reading about a similar situation months ago. 12. Being a loyal friend. Introvert friends will not betray you. They have no reason to. They would never talk about you behind your back or lie to you in a harmful way. Every secret, desire, or dream you've ever shared with them will always be safe whether or not the friendship lasts. Introverts cherish friendships and, no matter the circumstances, would never betray someone who once confided in them. They value relationships and try hard to keep them, which makes them some of the best friends you will ever have. Introverts have quite a lot of skills in those quiet little bodies. If you're an extrovert, don't be hesitant to communicate with silent peers. You'll be surprised at what they're capable of. And if you're an introvert, be proud. You have nothing to feel inferior about, since behind that shyness lies a storm of talents. And that's all from us at Psych2Go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.
Hey Psych2Goers, have you ever thought about joining our team of animators? Or perhaps you want to start an animation channel of your own? Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. It's a great place where you can learn new things with their online classes, and they have courses on animation as well. You get a 2-month free trial by clicking the link in the description below.
Hey there, Psych2Go fam. Before we begin, we want to thank you for your support on our channel. Our aim is to make psychology and mental health information engaging and accessible to you. And we hope you learn new things from our content. So thanks again, let's begin. Attractiveness is defined as certain qualities or features that make a person more desirable and alluring to others. It can significantly influence people's attitudes, and it's one of the most common reasons people become interested in psychology. What is it exactly that makes someone so attractive? Which of these traits do we look for in a friend or partner? According to psychology, here are 8 of the most common things that make a person attractive. Number 1, confidence. Studies have shown that confidence is the most attractive quality a person can have. When someone is confident, you're less likely to second-guess yourself, and you know and believe in your value. People notice when someone is confident in who they are and what they believe in. And although it's common to imagine someone who is confident as outgoing and charismatic, confidence can also be quiet. Knowing your worth, believing in your strengths, and taking pride in who you are is what makes you confident, regardless of if you're outgoing or not. 2, availability. Availability is an important factor in how much we find someone attractive. Despite the common belief that we need to act distant or aloof to make people we like interested in us, the opposite is actually true. When we're developing new relationships, it's important to find someone who can physically and emotionally be there for us. And the more responsive, attentive, and reliable someone is, the more we will come to value our relationship with them. 3, uniqueness. Although there are 7 billion people in the world, each of us is unique in our own ways. No one looks, talks, acts, thinks, or feels in exactly the same way, and that's what makes us so amazing. But some people prefer to hide their uniqueness to fit in. When we learn to embrace what makes us special, whether it's our looks, experiences, ideas, or little quirks, we open ourselves up to the possibility of meeting new, engaging, and like-minded people. Number 4, kindness. Kindness is a quality that lots of people want in a friend or romantic partner. In a study done by Baskerville and colleagues in the year 2000, they found that people tend to like people who showed more kindness, sympathy, and compassion than those who showed lesser levels of kindness. At the end of the day, we all want to be with someone who treats us as well as we would like to be treated. 5. Intelligence. Intelligence is attractive because it often leads to stimulating conversations, deep insights, and a new way to look at the world. A recent study in 2018 by psychologists Gignac and others found that for most participants, there is a particular IQ score that maximizes an individual's attractiveness, but any higher would make them seem less desirable. In other words, people are attracted to those they perceive as more intelligent than them, but not so much that they become too intimidating or out of reach to talk to. 6. Passion. Next is passion, the enthusiasm and desire to achieve a certain goal. People who are passionate tend to be driven, determined, and self-motivated, but more importantly, they have things that matter a lot to them and that they care about significantly. They have an interest in big dreams that appeal to the optimist in all of us, which can inspire us to push ourselves to be better as well. 7. A sense of humor. Research has shown that we tend to be more attracted to the people who make us laugh, possibly because it shows cleverness, wit, and creativity. So it should come as no surprise that having a good sense of humor ranks high on the list of characters people look for in an ideal friend or partner. In heterosexual relationships, women in particular gravitate towards men they find funny, while men favor women who are playful and good-humored. And number 8, their demeanor. Last but not least is our demeanor. While it's no secret that a person's looks have a lot to do with how attractive we find them, there's a lot more to it than someone's physical traits. Psychologists have found that it takes us only 30 seconds to decide whether we find someone attractive, and our demeanor can make or break someone's impression of us. The way we dress, act, and carry ourselves also plays a part in how people perceive us. When meeting new people, it can be helpful to take note of these things, as they can make a world of a difference. While it's common for us to base attractiveness off a person's physical traits, attractiveness can actually be more complex than that. And though we all have different ideas of what makes someone more or less attractive, these are some of the most common and widely agreed upon traits. So, do you agree with the things we've mentioned in this video? Do you also find these traits and qualities attractive? Leave us a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. For similar topics, you can watch more in our videos, 7 psychological things that can make us less attractive. See you soon.
Did you relate to any of the points in this video? What do you think of the animation? Let us know in the comments below. Before we wrap up this video, we want to mention that we're happy to have Skillshare as a sponsor today because they really promote the idea of a self-made.
Sometimes making friends can be hard. Have you been through this scenario? You start your first class. It's your first day back to school. A new semester, a new schedule, new people. Anything could happen. The student you end up sitting next to could be your next best friend. The possibilities are endless for friendship. That's what you think your first day. The next day, the hope is still there. It lasts the week, maybe the month. But then you soon find your hope dwindling down as you haven't seemed to make an impression on anyone. And you start to wonder, do people like me? Don't worry. Odds are, others just haven't gotten to know more about you and what makes you great, because we all have something that makes us great to someone out there. You may just need to develop some likable behaviors and habits that get others to notice you enough to want to find out what those great qualities are. So, to help you become an even greater person, here are some subtle behaviors that can make others like you. Hey, you may even find yourself liking you a bit more too. Number 1, call them by their name. No, not call me by your name. Call them by their name, although that is a great film. Have you ever perked up at the call of your name? Perhaps someone across the room mentioned you at a party and instead of saying, "Hey you," they said, well, your name. We love our names so much that we can even pinpoint our own names being spoken by someone in a loud crowd or party. This form of selective attention is related to the cocktail party effect. While in a crowd or loud room, we can hone in on a specific conversation of our choosing. More importantly, if our name is spoken nearby, even when we're focused on another conversation, we immediately perk up and recognize that someone is talking about us. Think about it. It not only makes you focus more when someone says your name, but it makes you feel better knowing they actually bothered to remember it. Try taking a mental note of each individual's name when you meet them, and think of a related image to help you remember them. Number 2, give genuine compliments when they cross your mind. Everyone loves compliments, and we can usually tell when they're genuine. Next time you meet someone and notice something you like about them, don't hesitate to tell them. It's best to let others know the great things about them. Wouldn't you want to know if someone is thinking highly of you? When we speak of others in a positive light, people will associate the traits we use to describe that person with ourselves. This happens when we talk about someone to someone else. This is called spontaneous trait transference, and it occurs when communicators are perceived as possessing the very traits they describe in others. According to several studies published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, researchers found that when we describe someone with a certain trait to another person, that person will associate us with the traits described. So, it doesn't hurt to give someone you just met a compliment, like your lab partner, Derek, who always aces the quizzes, or the student sitting next to you with a great sense of fashion. What was her name again? You better remember. Susie. Go ahead and tell them their outfit looks great. And even tell your lab partner, Derek, that Susie does indeed have great taste. He may even associate that compliment to how great you are in the process. I'm sure they would love to hear nice things said about them. Wouldn't you? Number 3, spend more time with them. Want a secret to getting someone to like you?
Ended.
Try spending some time with them. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to ask them out right away if it doesn't feel quite right or natural, but it can mean sitting with them at lunch, or perhaps you want a coworker to like you. Get to know them by having a quick coffee chat with them. It never hurts to try. It's best to make socializing with others a habit if you want to make friends. According to the psychological study by R.B. Zajonc, the mere exposure effect is a psychological phenomenon in which people find themselves preferring someone or something simply because they developed familiarity with them. When a person is repeatedly exposed to a certain stimulus, that person develops familiarity with the stimuli and therefore prefers its presence. This is why certain products and ads are constantly being repeated during your favorite program's commercial breaks. The more familiar you are with something, the more you'll start to notice it. And if they turn you down when you ask them out, it's definitely their loss anyways. Number 4, you don't need to be perfect. There's no such thing. You may think that you have to appear perfect to attract others your way. How could your friend possibly like you if you don't ace every single test? How could they admire you if you don't look extremely fashionable every day? Props to Susie, though. How could anyone ever get to know you if you don't have the perfect vocabulary? Well, I hate to break it to you. Well, actually, I want to break it to you. But people don't actually care that much. While you might think otherwise, often people find this so-called perfection intimidating, distant, or unattainable. Yeah, I know, not even perfect is good enough. In fact, people may find others who aren't superbly perfect, and who even possess the rarity of these so-called flaws, as more attractive. In a study, researcher Elliot Aronson had people rate fake test takers based on their attractiveness. Test takers would either do great on a test, mediocre, or poor. The imperfection? Some test takers would act clumsy and spill coffee at the end of the interview. After, their scores were revealed. People rated the test takers who spilled coffee at the end of their interview the highest on the attractiveness scale, meaning people want to see that you're intelligent and capable, but that you aren't perfect. As the research paper states, a superior person may be viewed as superhuman and therefore distant. A blunder tends to humanize them and consequently increase their attractiveness. Poor test takers, mediocre test takers, and even great test takers were still rated lower than the superior test taker who scored great and spilled coffee at the end. Others may be intimidated if you come across as perfect and make no mistakes. They want to see that you're human. But when you show you're capable and yet still relatable as a human being who makes mistakes, people tend to like you more. Number 5, look to the positives first. You know that one person in a group who always has the nicest and most positive things to say? Do you ever feel an aura of happiness and peace when around them? They never seem to complain, and when they do, it's only because of a particularly important reason. Like, there was a hair in my taco salad order. Something like that. They seem to emit this bright, positive energy that makes others gravitate towards them. why can't you do the same? A research paper from the University of Hawaii and Ohio State University suggests that many individuals can unconsciously tell what mood you're in just by being around you. Seems fair, right? So if you display positive emotions, others are likely to mimic your happy facial expressions and gestures. Therefore, they're likely to feel positive emotions around you and want to be with you more. Meaning, if you go ahead and try to look to what makes you happy first, others will like your company, and ultimately you. All you have to do is make it a habit to look to the positive of a situation before the negatives. Because others love to be near someone who is happy. And if you can find the light in any dark situation, isn't that something to be happy about? Number 6, you actively listen and let others talk about themselves too. When we try to jump into a conversation and interrupt someone with our own thoughts on the subjects prematurely, it can backfire. As much as we humans love to talk about ourselves, it's important to realize others want to talk about themselves too, which means if you let them, they may just like you a bit more. Harvard researchers discovered that taking the time to talk about yourself can have its rewards. In one of the 5 studies, subjects sat in an fMRI machine and had to respond to questions about either their own opinions on a subject or another's. Regions of the brain associated with reward and motivation were most active while talking about their own thoughts on a subject, as opposed to others. In fact, the need to talk about ourselves is so strong that in another study conducted by Harvard researchers, some subjects even declined money to talk about themselves more. As the research article states, self-disclosure was strongly associated with increased activation in brain regions that form the mesolimbic dopamine system, including the nucleus accumbens and ventral tegmental area. Moreover, individuals were willing to forego money to disclose about the self. So, go ahead and let your company talk about themselves for a while. They'll enjoy their time around you more and increase dopamine, as long as you make sure to listen and not doze off. It's a habit worth practicing. Next time you know you've been talking a little too much, try to remind yourself that the other person is dying to express their opinions as much as you are, and they may have something interesting to say. So, what do you think? Are you ready to start practicing these behaviors in hopes they become a natural habit? Maybe you already possess some of these habits yourself. Try them out and see if you make any new friends. And be sure to let us know in the comments what happened. And if you did make any friends using these habits, you're not alone. Susie and Derek have been practicing too. And now, they're the best of friends. They're just so positive, fashionable, and intelligent. And clumsy with the coffee too. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to press the like button and share this video with someone who might need a friend. Hey, reach out to them with this video, and you might develop a friendship that will last the test of time. Subscribe to Psych2Go and hit the notification bell icon for more content like this. As always, thanks for watching.
Hey Psych2Goers, and welcome back to another video. We wanted to thank you for all of the love and support that you give us. It helps us make psychology and mental health more accessible to everyone. Now, let's begin. Psychologists and researchers have long been developing studies to find out what exactly it is that makes someone attractive. Think about it. What are the questions you might ask yourself when you ponder on what attracts a possible partner? Is it good looks, or is it displaying confidence and having a good, healthy attitude? While these are good and basic qualities for dating, what about the little habits that you can use to help charm your crush even further? Behaviors that can make a potential partner admire you so much that they're willing to chase after you. In a non-creepy way, of course. Here are 6 behaviors that will make someone chase you, backed up by psychological research. Number 1, compliment others, and in turn, people will associate those compliments with you. Have you ever heard someone speak so highly and kindly of another at a party, and you admired them for doing so? This can leave you with the impression that they themselves are kind-hearted because of how they spoke so kindly of others. When you shed others in a positive light, people will associate the traits you use to describe that person with yourself. So, if you have kind words to say about your best friend or your crush, like, she's so energetic, fun, and lovely, then your crush may start thinking that you happen to be energetic, fun, and lovely too. This is something called spontaneous trait transference, and it occurs when communicators are perceived as possessing the very traits they describe in others. 2, spend more time around the person you have a crush on. The mere exposure effect can be a very useful way to get someone to like you. According to the psychological study by R.B. Zajonc, The mere exposure effect is a psychological phenomenon in which people find themselves preferring someone simply because they developed familiarity with them. When someone is repeatedly exposed to a certain stimuli, they develop familiarity with that stimuli and therefore prefer its presence. The more familiar your crush is with you, the more they'll start to notice you. 3. Play copycat and mimic your crush. Do you find yourself subconsciously mimicking the gestures, movements, postures, and facial expressions of your crush when you're talking to them? This instance is called the chameleon effect. It boils down to people like people who seem familiar to themselves. If you subtly mirror your romantic interest when you interact with them, they might just start to develop a natural pull towards you. Number 4, say their name often to grab their attention. Have you ever noticed that you can pay attention to a single conversation, even when in a crowded and noisy room? This is a form of selective attention called the cocktail party effect. It's when you're able to focus your auditory attention on a particular conversation, while simultaneously filtering out the other noises and distractions in the room. Like, for instance, when someone says your name and you immediately snap to attention so you can hear what the speaker is saying about you or what they're asking you. This effect can also be used to help your crush notice you better. While in conversation with them, try saying their name often and at the beginning or end of questions. This will grab their attention and also add a bit of charisma to your normal conversations. This offers them the sincere impression that you are interested in them and what they have to say. Number 5, come across as capable and intelligent, but still human. Has it ever occurred to you that clumsiness and a little lack of grace can make you more attractive to your crush? Researcher Elliot Aronson from the University of Texas found that if you make some mistakes but still show that you're capable and intelligent, it may make others see you as more attractive. In the study, he had people rate fake test takers based on their attractiveness. Test takers were graded as great, mediocre, or poor. Some test takers would act clumsy and spill coffee at the end of the interview. People rated the test takers who spilled coffee as highest on the attractive scale. The research paper states, a superior person may be viewed as superhuman and therefore distant. A blunder tends to humanize him and consequently increases his attractiveness. This means that people want to see your human side. When you show that you're just a regular human being who makes common mistakes, your crush can relate to you better. And number 6, hang around with a group of friends. Research shows that people tend to find others more attractive when they're in a group over being by themselves. This idea is called the cheerleader effect. Researchers Edward Vall and Drew Walker of the University of San Diego, California, conducted 5 experiments where subjects would rate people based on photographs of them. They found that subjects rated people more attractive when they were pictured in a group of the same gender, compared to an individual photograph of someone pictured alone. As the study suggests, individual faces will seem more attractive when presented in a group because they will appear more similar to the average group face, which is more attractive than group members' individual faces. So, if you see a cute individual at a party, try getting them to notice you first when you're chatting with your group of friends. Are there any behaviors from this list that you want to try out on your crush? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up and share it with someone who might find it helpful too. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Psych2Go videos, and as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Hey Psych2Go family, if we may ask a personal question, how's your love life? Are you currently Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back to our channel. We wanted to let you know that we value each and every one of you. All of your support helps us make psychology and mental health more accessible to everyone. So thank you for all of the love and support. Now, back to the video. How often do you feel lonely? While it's common for all of us to experience loneliness every now and then, what do we do if the feeling persists more than we're used to? If not dealt with properly, loneliness can grow into something harmful to our mental health. Now, if you believe you're suffering from excessive or chronic loneliness, a good plan might be to seek out help through a counselor or mental health professional.
It's a great first step and gives you a chance to talk with someone about your feelings that you're experiencing. While a lot of us can feel lonely when isolated for too long, loneliness isn't reliant on being alone. Loneliness, like all of our emotions, is a state of mind. Research demonstrates that loneliness does not reflect how many friends or family members you have by your side. Instead, it's how connected you feel internally. You can be surrounded by family or friends, and yet your feelings of loneliness still somehow manage to persist. So, what can we do about it? Well, you're in luck, because here at Psych2Go, we've gathered a list of 4 tips to help you deal with loneliness. Number 1, become friends with yourself first. Self-care is something that is extremely important for our mental health. The truth is, we may feel lonely because deep down, we long for our own friendship. When's the last time you were kind to yourself? Took a minute to relax and wind down, just for you. And I don't mean passing out after a long night of working. I mean conscious time dedicated to yourself and your thoughts. Thoughts all on you, not work, not drama, just relaxation. This could mean a relaxing bubble bath instead of a quick shower. Some time spent doing an activity or a hobby that you enjoy, or perhaps sitting down with your favorite book. When loneliness comes knocking on the door, it's a good idea to look inwards and spend some time with the friend within ourselves. They may be the one to help us calm ourselves and relieve some stress. That is, if we do spend time with them. Once we've made friends with ourselves, we might not feel as lonely around others or on our own, because you always know you got your back. Number 2, show compassion. Oftentimes, when we're lonely, we may wish that someone could simply be there for us, someone to understand us and show us some compassion. Well, a little compassion can go a long way. Don't you feel a little cheerier when someone gives you a compliment? When someone does a favor for you, don't you feel a little more valued and less alone? Wouldn't you want to bring that compassion to others as well and spread love? Because not only does carrying out kind acts for others help them feel cheery, but it can make us feel cheery as well, and less lonely in the process. After all, we're engaging in a form of social interaction. Compassion can be a step towards making a new friend, or simply feeling less lonely knowing you may have made someone's day. According to research from psychologists Ed Diener and Martin Seligman, altruism can lead to improved mental and physical health, as well as speed up recovery from diseases. Brain imaging research from Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA has found that providing support for others may have unique positive effects on key brain areas involved in stress and reward responses. The research shows that a little compassion and support can predict decreased stress responses in the brain. So next time you're feeling lonely, perhaps reach out to a family member or old friend who could use some support. Donate to a charity or volunteer with an organization you care about, maybe a mental health organization on loneliness. I'm sure they'd love the support as much as you. Number 3, find your tribe. As mentioned, you don't need to be physically alone to feel lonely. You could be at a loud, seemingly fun party with others and still you can't help but shake the feeling. Perhaps you do have friends or classmates you regularly talk to, and you do get along with them, but you don't necessarily have a lot in common with them. You may even find yourself disinterested in the topics they discuss, but politely nod along because, hey, they're your friends after all, and you care about them. But sometimes you feel like the odd one out. This may be due to the idea that you haven't found your tribe yet. Tribe? What on earth do you mean? Well, looking for your tribe means you're looking for people who share common interests and ideas with you, or possess traits you aspire to adapt. We should all surround ourselves with others who share the same interests, so we can not only discuss what we value, but gain a friend in doing so. It can take some people many years to find their tribe. They don't appear out of thin air. That's why joining an online community with interests similar to your own is an easy place to start. If you enjoy a certain video game, reach out to online players and make some friends. Or perhaps you're a book lover. Join a book club online or in person. You may find yourself with your very own tribe in no time. Number 4, there is no perfect friend. If you're lonely, you may have daydreamed about what it would be like to be perfectly socialized, imagining yourself with an ideal group of friends and your best friend, the perfect friend. Hate to burst your bubble, but there's no such thing as perfect. Meaning your imaginary friend isn't all you'd hoped they'd be. Theory and research suggest that those with a high level of perfectionism are more at risk for depressive symptoms and suicide ideation, because their feelings of alienation, isolation, and loneliness are all the more intense. Thing is, Perfectionism in socializing may even prevent some from socializing at all, because when they do look for the perfect friend, they can't seem to find them anywhere. Philosopher and author of A Philosophy of Loneliness, Lars Svensson, argues that people with chronic loneliness may likely be social perfectionists. Svensson explains that social perfectionism is more common among lonely individuals than non-lonely. The lonely person thinks that they're unloved and that no one will befriend them. But perhaps the problem is rather that because they place such impossible demands on friendship and love, they are not capable of loving or befriending someone. Now, are you capable of befriending someone? Absolutely. Don't let a little perfectionism get in the way of making a new friend. People have flaws, and not every social interaction is meant to be amazing. It can be awkward at times, or even silly. Once we're content with knowing friendships can be messy, awkward, and silly at times, we can then feel a little more relaxed when it comes to making a new friend. If you think your perfectionism is getting in the way of finding a friend, know that someone is out there for you, but they won't be perfect. And flaws and all, you'll still love each other, and may even be a little less lonely. There's someone out there for you. You just have to keep looking. So, will you try out any of these tips? What online communities will you join? Let us know in the comments. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell icon for more Psych2Go videos, and thank you for watching. And if this video helped you, please let us know by liking and sharing it with someone who may be feeling lonely. After all, this video could be a great way to reach out and support someone who is suffering from loneliness. And in the process, you never know, you may just make a new friend. Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back to the channel. It's only with your support that we can achieve our mission of making mental health more accessible to everyone, and we want to thank you for that. Now, let's continue. Are you burdened with thoughts that tell you that you're unlovable? Do you have a sinking feeling in your stomach when you're alone and your negative thoughts get loud and intrusive? Or are they more like whispers that you just can't shake, as they follow you around wherever you go like an ever-present shadow. We made this video to remind you that you are lovable, and that sometimes negative thoughts have the power to overtake us and distort our realities. They can make you believe awful things about yourself. To help you overcome these thoughts, here are 6 things to remember when you feel unlovable. Number 1, love blossoms when you start loving yourself. Do you struggle with self-love? Part of the reason you may feel unlovable at times is that you might have forgotten to prioritize loving yourself. Self-love isn't always easy, but it is foundational for believing in yourself, having confidence in your dreams, and accepting your own lovability. You are lovable just as you are, but in order for you to feel that, you have to start celebrating yourself. To practice self-love, try writing down things you love about yourself, moments in your day that made you proud, and people in your life who love you. Number 2, your brain is hardwired to latch on to negativity. Have you ever heard the phenomenon called negative bias? It describes the idea that our brain processes negative events differently than positive ones and causes us to amplify them. This can make you focus too much on the negativity around you. You might be recalling negative moments and events and feel unlovable because of that. Remember that your brain is hardwired to focus on those negative things and emotions. Positivity also surrounds you, and the more you bring it to the surface, the easier it will be to accept these negative events and begin to process them in a healthy way. Number 3, your flaws do not define you and who you are. We are all only human. As humans, we make mistakes. You might be stuck thinking that your flaws are definitions of your character, or that they're on blast for everyone to see and pick apart. But in reality, your flaws allow you a chance to learn and grow into the best version of yourself. When you feel like your flaws are making you unlovable, remember that everyone has flaws, and that your flaws make you unique and different. We can all learn from our mistakes or our shortcomings, and we all need time to stretch and grow. You are lovable just as you are, flaws and all. Number 4, your mind is a great storyteller. When someone doesn't respond to you right away, do you assume that they don't like you? If so, you're not alone. It turns out that your brain tends to fill in gaps by making up stories that put you in a negative light. You wind up assuming that people are mad at you or that they don't like you. Then you'll begin to believe and react to those same assumptions in your mind. The truth is, these stories your brain tells you can mask reality and your worth. And when you believe these stories, it can lead to a downward emotional spiral, making you feel unlovable or faulty. If this happens to you, remember that your brain naturally weaves together elaborate tales. Number 5, romantic relationships do not determine your worth or your value. When you've been single for a while, do you start questioning your lovability? Though it's tempting, don't fall into society's trap. There is no written rule that says that being single is a reflection of your lovability or even a negative thing at all. We create negative associations with being single in our minds because society has conditioned us to believe that we're incomplete without a romantic partner. In fact, there are many benefits to being single. If you've been single for a while, you may be feeling flawed, unworthy, or unlovable. In those moments, remember that your worth is not determined by your relationship status. You are lovable and worthy just for being you and for following your passions, regardless of whether or not you have a significant other. And number 6, the way people treat you is not a reflection of you. Has anyone ever treated you badly and made you feel like it was your fault? Perhaps it was a family member or a romantic partner. If this is the case, please know that any mistreatment towards you is never your fault. If someone's rude to you, yells at you, or treats you badly in any way, it's natural for your brain to convince yourself that you deserve it as a coping mechanism to make sense of what happened. But remember that nobody, for any reason, is entitled to treat you badly. The trauma that you've experienced is never your fault and absolutely does not mean that you are not lovable, no matter what your brain tries to tell you. We just wanted to remind you that you're wonderful and worthy just the way you are. Did you find this video helpful? Tell us in the comments below. Like and share this video if you think it could help someone else too. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell icon for more Psych2Go videos. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. everyone. Thanks for helping Psych2Go spread knowledge and bring us all together. Have you ever felt like you weren't good enough, and that no matter what you did, you would never be good enough? Do you sometimes unwittingly self-sabotage your self-esteem with bad thoughts? You're not alone. What you're feeling now is something many of us have experienced in our lives. We question ourselves if we're good enough, and more often than not, we feel we aren't. Modern-day society places so much pressure on us to succeed. In a world where everyone else's success and accomplishments are on full display, it's easy to feel inadequate if you don't have what they have. From making a certain amount of money to not having as many followers or connections. We end up automatically setting unrealistic goals and expectations for ourselves. Thanks, inner critic. We're generally fairly unforgiving to ourselves, and we don't deserve that. Here are 7 things you should keep in mind when you're feeling down about yourself and questioning your own self-worth. 1. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. They say comparison is the root of all unhappiness, and it's hard to argue with that kind of logic. After all, there's always going to be someone out there who has more. More happiness, more money, even a nicer complexion. These constant comparisons make us lose sight of and even ignore all of the good and wonderful things we have in our own lives and in ourselves. We've convinced ourselves we're nothing, and in doing so, we become progressively unhappier. A little hint, those others who have more, they're people too, and they're comparing just like you. They might even be envious of something you have and they don't. 2. Your thoughts aren't your reality. In many ways, we can be our own worst enemy, especially when we talk down to ourselves, letting our doubts and insecurities get the better of us. We all have cruel and discouraging thoughts from time to time, so hold on to the fact that bottom line, they're just thoughts. You have the power to choose how to deal with your own thoughts. They don't have to define your reality and change the way you feel about yourself. Don't be so quick to believe everything you think when you feel down and lonely. 3. Your worst traits and mistakes don't define you. Self-acceptance, self-love, and compassion towards ourselves. These are all things most of us struggle to accomplish throughout our lives, especially when we're perfectionistic. It can be difficult to feel like you're good enough when you're so aware of all your flaws and imperfections. You need to remind yourself that your worst traits and mistakes don't define you. Be kind to yourself and celebrate all of your best qualities, because even on your worst days, there's always more right than wrong with you, and that should be enough. 4. You are enough. Being a work in progress is great. It means you're progressing. The best of us are works in progress. It means constant improvement. There's no rule stating you need to have it all figured out. So keep learning and appreciate that progress means you're constantly getting better. Perfection is a myth. You may still have a long way to go, but look at how far you've come. Take pride in yourself for making it this far and make the most of where you are right now. All the best things in life take time. 5. You deserve to be loved and cared for. Famous author Stephen Chbosky said it best when he wrote, "We accept the love we think we deserve." Remember those words for perspective the next time you're wallowing in self-doubt and self-pity. We all get upset with ourselves at times. No matter how angry or ashamed you may feel, never let it stop you from accepting the kindness and compassion of others. Oftentimes, it's when we feel like we deserve it the least that we need love the most. 6. Sometimes, all that matters is the here and now. It's far too common to encounter those who get so hung up on their past that they become stuck, unable to move forward in life. Also, there are those who let their anxiety and anticipation of the future keep them from enjoying the present. Truthfully, sometimes all that matters is the here and now. Being more mindful of the present moment brings a certain peace of mind that you just don't get from wasting your time fretting over the past or the future. 7. You are worthy, and you matter. Finally, but perhaps most importantly, remember that you're worthy. You are someone. You're the only you to ever exist in the universe. Have you ever wished that you were someone else who seemed to have it all in life? The truth is, what you see on the surface might not be true because you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Trying to be someone else is a waste of the person you are. You do you, because no one else can. Allow yourself the freedom to feel scared, unsure, and uncomfortable sometimes. knowing that you'll succeed in spite of all these things. When you love and believe in yourself, you'd be surprised at how much further you can go. Be a rock star. What did you think of this video? Did you find it motivational or reassuring? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we can always use your love and support too. Please like, share, and subscribe. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Before we start this video, we just want to say thank you for your support. We're happy to see that the videos have provided value for many of you, and we hope that we continue to deliver value and help you through your problems. Is music the most powerful way in which we express our personalities? Does our musical taste say more about who we really are than the clothes we wear or the friends we choose? How much can you really learn about someone based on their favorite music? We can't deny that music speaks to us. We connect with music. We relate to its melodies, harmonies, and lyrics. And a powerful tune can invoke incredible emotions within us. The psychological effect of music in the human brain has been studied extensively, but what does your musical taste say about you? Why we like certain genres. Most people find themselves listening to one or two genres almost exclusively. But have you ever stopped to wonder why you might be attracted to pop, or metal, or classical? A number of studies have examined this interesting subject, with incredible results. Do you like complex music like jazz or classical? According to certain studies, you might be more creative or have a higher IQ. Pop music lovers tend to be extroverted and honest. If you like rap music, you're probably pretty outgoing. Country music fans are usually pretty conventional and hardworking, and metalheads tend to be more introverted and could even suffer from low self-esteem. Every single music genre says something about our personalities. Why is certain music more nostalgic than others? One of the most powerful emotions that music can evoke is nostalgia. A simple track can bring back tons of incredible memories, both joyful and sad, suddenly. Music flings us back in time to a forgotten moment in our lives. But what causes this? Why does some music seem more nostalgic than others? An interesting 2010 study found that autobiographical music was most likely to cause nostalgic emotions. Or in other words, music that involved a real-life story from the perspective of the singer. Even more interesting was the fact that music with mixed emotions caused the most nostalgia, specifically a mixture of joy and sadness. Perhaps this is because in reality, life itself contains a mixture of both joy and sadness. Hey, before we continue to the next point, we'd like to connect with some of you who currently play music. Tag Psych2Go in your video. We'll watch all of them and even feature the best ones in our upcoming video to give you a little exposure or a head start to your career. Anywho, let's get back to the next point about music facts. Why does some music give us the shivers? Have you ever experienced a truly powerful piece of music? Was it so powerful that you found yourself getting the shivers? Did goosebumps start to appear along your arms? If so, you're not the only one. This is a pretty common experience. But why does some music evoke such a powerful physical reaction in us? A 2010 study set out to answer this question, and they found that people who were more open to new experiences were more likely to experience shivers when listening to music. You're also more likely to have this powerful reaction if you listen to tons of music throughout each day. Funnily enough, the study found that it doesn't really matter which genre you're listening to. Why do some people love bass? The heavy, booming nature of bass is a big part of popular music these days. Some people absolutely love bass, and this musical element seems to affect them in a deep way. But why are some people so crazy about bass? One study found that males are more likely to enjoy heavy bass in music. There's even some suggestion that those who enjoy bass are more likely to have antisocial tendencies and borderline personality disorders. But these are, of course, very rare cases, and correlation doesn't always equal causation. Why athletes love pump-up music? There's definitely a very specific type of music we listen to at the gym. It's usually vigorous pump-up music with high BPM that gets us motivated and excited, but why does this music seem to be so fitting for athletic activity? One study found a link between our music preferences and our ideal self-image. Basically, people prefer music that they think is most fitting to their own perception of themselves. Athletes love vigorous music because they feel it fits with their dynamic lifestyle and persona.
Why teens love heavier music. We're all familiar with that one stereotype of the angsty teen who loves heavy metal, and sometimes this stereotype is a reality for many teens. But have you ever wondered why some teens seem drawn to heavy metal and heavier genres in general? One study looked into this and found something very interesting. Apparently, teens with this music preference are more likely to feel rejected and have low self-esteem. Although once again, this doesn't mean that everyone who enjoys metal or heavy genres has these issues. Why some people like repetitive music. Most of the time, repetitive music is generally seen as a bad thing, but some music with repetitive elements can be calming, meditative, and relaxing. But why do some people prefer repetitive music? Some studies have suggested that those who are less open to new experiences might be more likely to enjoy repetitive music. We're not saying there's anything wrong with either repetitive music or being less open to new experiences. Some people are just naturally more conservative, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely an interesting tidbit of information that sheds light on the link between musical taste and personality. What kind of music are you into? Do you have music suggestions and want us to analyze you? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.
Welcome back, Psych2Goers. Your ongoing support has helped us make psychology and mental health more accessible to everyone, and we want to thank you for that. So thanks. Now, let's continue. You receive your report card in the mail. With hesitation, you open the envelope and read out your doom. It's an F, in not one, but 2 classes. Okay, so you're not the greatest at math or art history. But does that mean you're not intelligent? Your GPA isn't the only way to measure your intelligence. In 1983, Howard Gardner, an American developmental psychologist, came up with 9 types of intelligence that people can have. Each category is an area you may excel in, and you may be intelligent in more than one category. Here are the 9 types of intelligence, according to psychologist Howard Gardner. Which type are you? Number 1, naturalist intelligence. If you have a naturalist type of intelligence, then you may have a knack for identifying patterns in your natural surroundings. You're sensitive to the environment and can benefit as a hunter, gatherer, or farmer. This was a vital form of intelligence for our ancestors who needed to hunt and survive to provide for their people out in the wilderness on their own. Number 2, musical intelligence. Do you have a calling towards music? Can you pick up a new instrument with ease? Do you possibly also write and arrange your own music? With musical intelligence, you can discern the tone, rhythm, and pitch of the music you're listening to. You can easily repeat or recall a phrase or piece of music from what you've heard, and can usually play instruments by ear. You have an ear for sound and music that others do not. Pencil drummers and musical theater singers unite. Number 3, logical mathematical intelligence. With this type of intelligence, you're often caught in abstract, symbolic thought. Formulas and reasoning skills are your expertise. In reasoning, you often use inductive and deductive thinking patterns. Not only do you love strategy games and math problems, but odds are you've been begging your older siblings to participate in your wacky science experiments for years now. You'd excel as a mathematician, detective, or scientist. Number 4, existential intelligence. Why are we still here? Just to suffer? If you're an existential intellect, you indulge yourself in life's existential questions. Although these questions may not have a definitive answer, your philosophical mind keeps you up at night, and your theories are probably worthy enough to be published. Your thoughts, ideas, and hypotheses are all centered around life and the symbolic meaning of it all. Why are we here? What is our purpose? What does it all mean? Why am I asking so many questions? Number 5, interpersonal intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence means that you just get people. You find it easy to take into account the different sides of a story and are open to different perspectives and willing to put yourself in another's shoes. You read others' emotions well. and you can quickly tell if someone is being genuine or not. You are empathetic and great at socializing with others on a deeper level. You would do great in the field of social work, as a teacher, or perhaps an actor. Number 6, bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Do you feel that your mind and body are one? Can you tap into this energy directly? You are a special soul who uses the power of mind and body in unison to achieve your goals. Basically, you're great with timing, motor skills, athletics, and dancing. Perhaps you are a great dancer, or maybe you excel in the athletic field. You may even have the talents to be a great surgeon. Whatever it is, your mind and body are one in harmony, and your physical skills are unmatched by your friends. Number 7, linguistic intelligence. Do you have a vast vocabulary? Do you think in deep thoughts or internal monologues? Can you understand and pick up the subtle differences in the meaning of words and language? With this type of intelligence, you enjoy reading, writing, and find the beauty in language and words. Foreign languages come easily to you, and you learn new words faster than others. A lot of linguistic intellects work as journalists, poets, novelists, and public speakers. Number 8, interpersonal intelligence. Have people always called you quiet? Do you consider yourself a deep, emotional thinker? You are probably at one with yourself. Your mind is your safe haven, and you understand your thoughts and feelings on a deeper level than most. You're aware of who you are and what you want, and you know how to change yourself for the better. You can motivate yourself by being your own motivational coach. You make goals and can achieve them faster and easier because of how attuned you are with what you want and accepting of who you are. If you have interpersonal intelligence, you might make a great psychologist, philosopher, or spiritual guide. And number 9, spatial intelligence. Are you great with directions and are a strong visual learner? With spatial intelligence, you enjoy solving puzzles and mazes and excel in creative drawing and painting pursuits. Your thought process is in 3 dimensions, and you may have artistic skill and expansive imagination because of this. If you possess spatial intelligence, you may do wonders as a sculptor, painter, sailor, pilot, or architect. What type of intelligence do you think you are? Did any of them jump out at you? Let us know in the comments below. Please like and share this video if it helped you and you think it could help someone else too. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell icon for more Psych2Go videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hey Psych2Goers, and welcome back to your favorite spot for all things psychology. Thank you so much for your love and support, enabling us to make yet another exploration into everyday psychology. So, let's begin. Do you ever wonder if your problems can be concluded to the idea that you're just too smart for your own good? Even high IQ comes with its own set of highs and lows. Sigh. We usually think of the highly intelligent as people who are destined for success and given more opportunities than others. But what if there are some problems that are more likely to arise just because you are intelligent? According to psychologists and extensive research, there are some problems smart people are more likely to have. Before we begin, please do not use this to self-diagnose, as this is not a scale for rating intelligence. With that said, here are 6 problems only smart people have. Number 1, they often suffer from psychological disorders. Yes, you heard that right. Research suggests that your intelligence can also mean an increased risk of you developing certain affective disorders. Psychologist and researcher Ruth Harpinski conducted a study in which all of her participants were members of American Mensa, a high IQ society, which requires all its members to have an IQ in the top 2%. The participants self-reported whether or not they were diagnosed with or suspected they had a range of mood disorders and anxiety disorders. Disorders reported included attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and psychological diseases that include environmental and food allergies, asthma, and autoimmune disease. According to the study, this implicates high IQ as being a potential risk factor for affective disorders, ADHD, and for an increased incidence of disease related to immune dysregulation. Number 2, they are night owls. Are you frequently burning the midnight oil? Are you more awake while the rest of the world sleeps? According to researchers Richard D. Roberts and Patrick C. Kyleland, evening types are more likely to have higher intelligence scores. While being a night owl may sound like a good thing, and it can be, there are some downsides to working through the night. Firstly, your schedule is likely messed up. You work long hours throughout the night without getting tired. But because of this, you stay up through the night, and then you also have to get up early for work. If you don't get the necessary sleep, you may feel tired and groggy when you have to work during the day, or when socializing with friends. If your sleep schedule is off, you likely won't be feeling as alert and well-rested as your friends at 7 a.m., which means that morning picnic you all had planned, well, you may just feel you need to cancel. You're too tired. Maybe reschedule for an evening of dancing instead. Number 3, they have high expectations. Did your test scores label you as smart early on in childhood? Did this raise others' expectations of you? Even you may have these paramount expectations from none other than yourself. People expect you to succeed and achieve nearly perfect scores on all your tests because you displayed characteristics that deemed you as smart. So, meeting these expectations may hang as a bit of a burden upon your shoulders, and those expectations ultimately cause you serious stress if you don't manage them effectively. It's best to take it one step at a time with whatever you do. Look towards the future, but don't be discouraged if it's not everything you thought it would be. Odds are, a year or 2 from now, you won't be thinking about that A- on your geography exam. Number 4, they're overexcitable and can have high energy. Have you ever had an intelligent friend who always seemed to be extremely intense and excitable in whatever they did? Do they go long hours without sleep because they're always hyper-focused or excited regarding their work? In the 1960s, Polish psychiatrist and psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski introduced the concept that being highly gifted or intelligent is associated with psychological and physiological overexcitabilities, otherwise known as OEs. It's most often a sudden high energy towards a certain situation or topic. It displays itself in varying ways, such as a competitiveness, compulsive organizing, compulsive talking, impulsive behavior, and others. It's unfortunate that these OEs are treated as a problem by teachers or parents. Intelligent students and children are often mislabeled or punished due to unawareness about OEs. As research from the University Kabang-san, Malaysia suggests, gifted students who are frequently labeled as problematic because of their intense behavior should be given assistance in understanding and coping with their overexcitabilities. Number 5, they overanalyze things. Have you ever admired someone for their intelligence, but noticed they always tend to overanalyze things? Well, this urge to analyze likely has a strong link to their intelligence. This tendency to overanalyze may be connected to the hyperbrain hyperbody theory proposed by Ruth Harpinski and her colleagues. The theory connects being overly analytical to Dabrowski's psychological and physiological overexcitabilities, or OEs. These psychological OEs cause you stress, and physiological OEs appear as a response to that stress. So as a result, overanalyzing often occurs. Let's say you receive a negative remark from someone you care about. Someone who is smart and also exhibits overexcitabilities may overanalyze the comment, causing physiological OEs in the form of the body's stress response, which means more stress and anxiety. They could be creatively imagining all the scenarios and implied meanings from this one comment, while another person may shrug their shoulders and move on. Number 6, they can become super stressed. Well, no surprise here. It was a long time coming, right? With all the extra analyzing going on, it ultimately had to lead to this. It has often been suggested that smart people are some of the biggest worriers. No, not warriors, but hey, with all the stress they've been through, they might as well be called warriors too. Harpinski's studies only add to this idea that those who have a high IQ and likely display overexcitabilities are often suffering from stress. With psychological OEs, people will often ruminate and feel stress about certain situations. Since physiological OEs appear from the body's response to this stress, when these two interact, it can cause both physiological and psychological dysfunctions. Stress, stress, stress. The truth of it all is, the more you think and ponder on an idea, the more you may think of negative scenarios or problems, and therefore stress about them. We hope we were able to give you insight in some of the ways you can identify the sneakiness of smartness. Do any of these resonate with you? Leave a comment down below and feel free to share any experiences and thoughts you have as well. If you found this video insightful, be sure to hit the like button and share it with those out there still boggled with the trials and tribulations of intelligence. Don't forget to subscribe to Psych2Go and hit the notification bell for new videos. As always, thanks for watching.
Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much for all the love that you've given us. Psych2Go's mission is to help everyone learn psychology and mental health in a digestible way, and we couldn't have done it without your support. So thanks. Now, let's begin. When you think of someone smart, what comes to mind? Is it someone with big, nerdy glasses and a book in hand, boasting about their straight-A report card? Intelligence isn't something that's measured merely by an IQ number or a test grade. It's demonstrated and shown through our personality and lifestyle. Are you curious to find out if you're someone of great intelligence? If so, here are 9 signs of a secretly intelligent person. Number 1, you've got a great sense of humor. Everyone loves someone who can make them laugh. It makes you more approachable, attractive, and someone fun to be around. But did you know that humor is strongly linked to intelligence? How else could someone easily crack a hilarious joke if they didn't have the smarts to do it? Research shows that funny people, especially the ones that love dark humor, have higher IQs and are also highly capable of both verbal and nonverbal skills, which include self-expression, problem solving, and more. Number 2, you're empathetic. Being empathetic makes you a great friend and is also linked to higher levels of intelligence. The ability to respond according to other people's emotions, ranging from happiness to sadness, is a skill that not everyone has mastered. People with lower levels of intelligence are often unable to identify or show concern for others' feelings. Showing empathy reveals that you're someone who's able to read through people and their emotions by analyzing their verbal cues and body language. Number 3, you're a night owl. It's generally thought that people who wake up early and on time are more productive, energetic, motivated, and overall better off than people that are night owls and wake up late. However, research proves that this isn't always the case. If you tend to stay up late at night and sleep into the next day, you might just be a secretly intelligent person. A study published through the Personality and Individual Differences article in 2009 showed that people with higher levels of intelligence stayed up and woke up later in the day throughout their week, regardless of whether it was a weekday or a weekend. Number 4, you sweat the small stuff. Do you get anxious when you don't have your homework done for class, or making a good first impression on your significant other's family? While constantly feeling worried might not be the most desirable quality, there could be an upside. According to psychologist Dr. Edward Selby from Psychology Today, a study done on 126 undergrads regarding how often they find themselves feeling worried revealed that those who tend to worry a lot more than others were more verbally intelligent, which meant that they're able to analyze and process information, read, and write at a higher level. Number 5, romance doesn't come easy for you. When it comes to finding a partner, it just isn't as easy as the movies make it seem. Your destined partner isn't always going to be the person who lives next door or the new coworker who shares your cubicle. If you find yourself less experienced than your peers in romance and relationships, your family and friends have probably advised you to lower your standards. But upholding your high standards for potential partners is a sign of intelligence. Knowing exactly what you want in a partner and not being easily swayed by looks is linked to being smarter than average. Also, as an intelligent person, you're most likely introverted and independent. When in a relationship, your independence and the need for alone time might not work well with a partner who craves frequent attention and time together. As a result, this could leave them feeling neglected and could spark conflict. Number 6, you're a messy person. Have you ever bothered to make your bed? Is your workspace cluttered and unorganized? In a study done by Dr. Kathleen Vaz of the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management, participants were asked to think of new ways ping pongs could be used, with people being placed in tiny rooms while others were placed in messy rooms. Although participants from either room generated around the same amount of ideas as the other, the far more interesting and inventive ideas came from the people who brainstormed in the messy room. So, if you find that you're someone who tends to work in a more cluttered workspace without much care for tidiness, you're most likely more innovative and full of ideas. Number 7, you're a procrastinator. Procrastination is a sign that you have a creative, imaginative mind, one that can analyze, process, and visualize different scenarios and circumstances. When it comes to procrastination, you approach the task at hand in a different way, instead of focusing on the end result. Instead, you visualize and focus on the entire process you'd have to go through before reaching completion. This could be thinking about every single step you'll have to take, how much time you'll spend working, and even all the things that could go wrong. All these overwhelming thoughts brew within your head before even getting started, and it feels consuming. Your sense of motivation dims and you put off the task, so you don't have to deal with how overwhelming it feels. Number 8, you use curse words. While it may not be the best to curse in front of your mom or in the middle of class, swearing isn't as bad as it seems. Not only is it an outlet for anger and frustration, but it's also a sign of a more vast vocabulary and higher abilities in reading and writing. According to a 2015 study conducted by a Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts psychology professor, Timothy J., participants who could come up with as many words possible, starting with a certain letter in under a minute, were also the ones who could name the most curse words, and they knew under the same amount of time, which demonstrated a link between fluent speaking and the use of swearing. And number 9, you doubt your intelligence. With social media, you're subjected to a constant game of comparison. You see news of your friends, family, and role models posting of all their accomplishments or special projects, and it's easy to fall victim to feelings of jealousy. You can start to compare your own successes to others and label yourself as not smart enough. Maybe you've been overlooking the gifts and talents you already have. Based on the Dunning-Kruger effect, people with lower levels of intelligence usually overemphasize their abilities, while those who are truly intelligent tend to be more humble regarding their skills and feel that there's endless room for improvement and are open to learning. Everyone has their own personal gifts and talents to bring to the table. Did you relate to any of these signs of secret intelligence? Let us know in the comments below. Give us a like and share this video if it helped you and you think it could help someone else too.
What if you didn't need a lie detector? What if your knowledge of psychology and human behavior was enough to tell if people were telling the truth? Some people are inherently born with the ability to spot a liar. Others study and practice for years before they can call people out on their dishonesty. Well, we're about to give you a crash course on how to spot a liar. Here are 10 of the most obvious signs. Evasiveness. One study on lying found that evasiveness was one of the biggest signs of dishonesty. But what is evasiveness? Basically, when people are lying, they are less likely to be specific. They might say, I don't know, liars can't keep their stories straight. That's basically what psychologists mean when they say inconsistency. And studies have proven it's a big sign of lying. This is a common tactic used by police during interrogations. They ask the suspect to repeat their story again and again, hoping to poke holes in it when certain details are inconsistent. Simulated facial expressions. Although this is another huge sign of lying, it's very hard to spot. Why? Because some liars are just really good at acting. One study showed that only certain facial muscles are activated when people are experiencing genuine happiness. These muscles are called the orbicularis oculi. otherwise known as crow's feet. But you'd have to be a serious expert to spot which muscles are being activated in the face. They can't tell their story backwards. If you ever doubt that someone is telling the truth, ask them to tell their story backwards. Studies have shown that when people are lying, they have trouble telling their false version of events in reverse. When people are lying, they have an increased cognitive load. This basically means that liars' brains are working much harder than those who are telling the truth. When you ask a liar to tell their story backwards, this might push their cognitive load over the edge, leaving them unable to keep their stories straight. Not maintaining eye contact. This has to be one of the most obvious signs of a liar. Eye contact is linked with truthfulness, and multiple studies have linked lying with the inability to look someone in the eye. Although this has been explored by research, it only takes a little bit of common sense to see why this is true. Once again, it goes back to evasiveness. They can't handle unexpected questions. Like we've mentioned previously, liars are using their brains much more than those telling the truth. Honest people don't have to think too hard about what they're saying. They're simply telling the truth. Liars, on the other hand, are inventing entire stories and situations purely out of their own imaginations. Sometimes they plan out their responses and stories long in advance. That's why when we ask them unexpected, random questions, it often catches them out. It's another technique that police often use. Simply asking them what they were wearing or what they ate could be enough to leave a liar stuttering. Micro-expressions. This is another sign which is incredibly hard to spot. Research has shown that facial expressions linked with genuine emotions might only last a few milliseconds. As a general rule, shorter expressions are usually real. Longer, drawn-out expressions have a higher chance of being fake. A liar is essentially trying very hard to show everyone what they're feeling, as opposed to genuinely feeling these emotions. The problem is that these genuine micro-expressions are very hard to spot. Sometimes they're impossible to even see because they're so quick. Blinking. But there might be an easier way to spot what psychologists refer to as masked emotion. Just take note of how often someone is blinking. Research has shown that frequent blinking is linked to masked emotions, a clear sign of lying. Their facial expressions and their emotions don't match up. This is something most of us are familiar with. Sometimes people just give us a strange vibe. Often, this is because their emotions and facial expressions seem totally disconnected. They might be smiling when their body language seems sad, or vice versa. Studies have shown that this is a major red flag when it comes to lying. Play devil's advocate. Now we're getting into expert territory. This might be hard to pull off, but it's a great way to spot a liar. Let's say someone says that they love roller coasters, but you have a sneaking suspicion that they're actually terrified of them. All you need to do is play devil's advocate. Talk about how scary you think roller coasters are, and situations where you've been terrified. They'll probably agree with you on some level. Now all you need to do is compare that statement with what they initially said about loving roller coasters. Which statement seems more genuine? The answer should be pretty obvious. This is a technique which has been backed up by quite a few studies. Tell us about your stories of when you caught a liar. what were some of the signs that made it obvious? We hope this helps you in getting the truth out of people in the future. What did you think of this video? Does it help you spot a liar? Comment below and tell us which of these tactics you use to catch a liar in the act.